Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to bring you guys some book recommendations. I feel like it's been such a long time since I have done a book recommendations video. Yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about, but I was reading a book today that reminded me of how much I love both Beauty and the Beast, you know, the Disney animated film, and just the Beauty and the Beast trope that is used in quite a few romance novels. So it's actually kind of surprising that I haven't done this video before because, like I said, I love this trope so much and I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. So the book that inspired me to finally film this video is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. This is book 2 in her Brutal Birthright series. This is a mafia romance series, and this is definitely a Beauty and the Beast retelling, even down to little details such as the hero Miko telling our heroine Nessa that she should never go into the west wing of his mansion. So that was just so much fun. But yeah, this is really cool because it is the mafia meets a Beauty and the Beast type story, and it actually really makes sense because in mafia romances a lot of the time you'll see a captor-captive dynamic going on between the hero and the heroine, and because this is book 2 of the series, you definitely don't need to read book 1. Sophie Lark does a really good job of summarizing all of the important events that happened in that first book, and obviously like each book is about a different couple, so they're definitely standalones in that way. This is about our hero Miko, who's a part of the Polish mafia. This takes place in Chicago as well. He's now actually the leader of the Chicago mafia because his father and mentor was killed by someone in Nessa's family, Nessa, our heroine, and so as revenge he decides to kidnap Nessa, take her to this crazy Baroque looking mansion in Chicago. So I just finished this book 5 minutes ago and I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed book 1 of this series, Brutal Prince, but this one to me was just on another level. I just loved how Sophie Lark took the mafia elements, she took the Beauty and the Beast story, and she put them together into a really awesome romance. All right, so let's move on from Stolen Heir. I have a couple of basic recommendations for a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm sure most of you know about these books or have read them yourselves, but I wanted to include them just in case someone is just now starting to get into reading for fun and they're looking for books with this vibe. So I have to recommend A Court of Thorns and Roses, the ACOTAR series by my queen, Sarah J. Maas, though this is not my favorite series by her, but it is certainly the most hyped, I feel like, at this point, mainly because of book talk. But this first book in particular is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. We have our main character, Feyre. She's hunting in the woods. Her family's very poor. She kills this wolf who was actually Fae, and so this dude Tamlin shows up at their house as a beast and takes her with him to his palace in Prythian, which is the Fae kingdom, and things go on from there. I mean, this is a complex kind of fantasy romance series, I would say. So things definitely get a lot more complicated from there. Book 2 is a Hades and Persephone retelling, if you did not know. I feel like I don't need to say anything about this book because most of you have probably read it at this point. But the next one I'm going to recommend is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA series, but I love this first book. I think it's perfection. Books 2 and 3, not so much. Just want to throw that out there. And this first book in particular is the most Beauty and the Beast-esque for sure. And what's really cool is our main character, Harper, has cerebral palsy, so I love that representation. We have Prince Ren, who is definitely the beastly character. He's cursed to live the autumn of his 18th year over and over and over and over again until he finds someone to truly love him, and he turns into a beast. And yeah, this one's just really great. I loved it so much, but unfortunately books 2 and 3 of this series were not it. I think you kind of could read this as a standalone, kind of, sort of, maybe not really, I don't know. And because it's a recommendation from yours truly, I had to include some historical romances because there are quite a few historicals out there that love to use the Beauty and the Beast trope. And the first two I'm going to mention are by my girl Tessa Dare, my favorite historical romance author ever. First is The Duchess Deal. This one probably has like the least amount of Beauty and the Beast vibes, but they're still there. We have Ash, who's a scarred hero. And then we have Emma, who is a seamstress, and they go into a marriage of convenience. This is my favorite historical romance ever, and because it's my favorite ever, I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video because I have talked about this book just endlessly on my channel, but just know that this is my top recommendation if you're just getting into historical romance. It's absolutely fantastic. Then we also have Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. This is book 1 in her Castles Ever After series. This one definitely has more Beauty and the Beast vibes than the Duchess deal, because we have Izzy, our main character. She inherits this castle from this kind of random guy. Like, I don't think she's even really related to him, but she shows up and lo and behold, Ransom, our hero, has been living there and he believes the castle to belong to him. And she's like, but it was just given to me in this guy's will. And our hero Ransom, he's scarred, and I think he's also blind. Yes, isn't he? Or he's very nearly blind. And what's really fun about this one is that Izzy's father was the author of these really popular books. And so there's a scene where this random group of cosplayers show up to her castle dressed as the characters from his books. Like, so much fun. You gotta love Tessa Dare. So entertaining. And then the other 2 historical romances that I have for you, the first one is My Darling Duke by Stacey Reed. This is book 1 in her Sinful Wallflower series. For this one, the premise is just so fun because we have Catherine. Her family is on the brink of financial ruin and she is just desperate, and so she thinks that if she simply announces that she is engaged to Alex, who is this reclusive duke, that she will be able to secure strong matches for her sisters, therefore getting out of their financial troubles. Alex finds out, even though he is a recluse and he lives out in the country, and so it's just really funny when he confronts Catherine about this, and it goes on from there. He's a scarred hero. He also is disabled. I think he was in a fire when he was a child, and so I think he walks with a limp, or there's something wrong with one of his legs, something like that. Yeah, this one is absolutely fantastic. Another one is The Beast of Beswick by Amelie Howard. This is book 1 in a series that I can't remember the name of, but this one is about Nathaniel, who is another recluse. He just lives in his house, I believe. Yes, he's the Duke of Beswick. And he spends his days smashing porcelain, antagonizing his servants, and snarling at anyone who gets too close. So obviously he's a very beastly character. And then we have Lady Astrid, who will stop at nothing to see her younger sister safe from Nathaniel, because her younger sister is initially the one who's betrothed to him. And so she decides to go to the Beast of Beswick herself and marry him to save her sister, and things go on from there. What I really loved about this one was that I remember that Astrid, our heroine, also had like beastly qualities in that she was very guarded because of things that happened in her past. And so she's not open to love either. And so I love that they both kind of had those beastly qualities. And yeah, another fantastic historical romance. Next up we have In Bed with the Beast by Tara Civic. This is book 2 in her Naughty Princess Club series. This is a trilogy of small town romances that are reimaginings of Disney movies that we all know and love. So obviously this one is Beauty and the Beast. Book 1 is a retelling of Cinderella, and book 3 is a retelling of The Little Mermaid. And what's really fun is that we have our 3 heroines of these books. We have Cindy, Belle, and Ariel. They are just 3 women that are not doing well financially. They decide to become friends and they open a stripping business together. And it's just such a fun rom-com series, and this book in particular I think is still my favorite of the 3. So we have Belle, our heroine, of course. She is a librarian, but the librarian is not doing well. They will probably have to close its doors sooner rather than later. Then we have Vincent, who is the bouncer at a strip club that Belle and her friends have stripped at in the past. And so he offers to have Belle as his roommate because she's now kind of homeless because her father kind of threw her out of the house. I think they had a really bad argument, and so it's forced proximity. Of course, they are roommates, and this one was just so adorable but sexy at the same time. I also remember there being a really fun scene where there was a Gaston-like character that Belle was going on a blind date with. It was just so much fun. fun. Highly, highly recommend this entire series. So this next book is one that I completely forgot about somehow when it's arguably my favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling that I've ever read. Like, what is wrong with me? That is The Beast by Katie Robert. Like, what? This is book 4 in her Wicked Villain series. You can definitely read these as standalones, but I just read the series in order. This is a poly Beauty and the Beast retelling romance. Amazing. So this is about our main character, Isabella. And in the past, so this is a second chance romance, she was in 2 separate romantic relationships with Beast, that's his nickname. I can't remember what his actual name is, but that's just what he goes by, and Gaetan, who is like the Gaston-like character. All 3 of them agreed to this situation, so it's not like she was cheating on anybody, but it just wasn't working because obviously like 2 separate relationships never work. And so their relationships imploded. She hasn't talked to them in a long time. Because of her family situation, she has to get the 2 of them back in her good graces, and they come up with this situation where they will all 3 be in a relationship together for the short term, though. They don't plan on being together permanently, but of course that changes throughout the book. And this is just exquisite. So good. If you don't know anything about this series, as well as it being Disney movie retellings, there's also a lot of BDSM involved. This series kind of centers around a sex club that one of the other characters owns, and it's just absolutely fantastic. This is my second favorite book in the series. Learn My Lesson is still my top favorite, but this one is amazing as well. Last but not least, I have a couple of fantasy romance recommendations. So the first one I'm going to mention is Entreat Me by Grace Draven. Now, I will be upfront with you guys, I didn't absolutely love this book. I gave it like 3.5 stars, but I still wanted to recommend it because I know I'm in the minority of that, and I know a lot of people who adore this book, and I can totally understand why. This one's interesting because there's actually 2 romances going on at the same time, because we have a father and son that are both cursed. So there's 2 beastly characters essentially. And then we have Louvain, our main heroine, and then her younger sister. They are the 2 heroines. But basically what happens is that Louvain's younger sister, I can't remember her name, she falls in love with Ballard's son. Ballard is the father that is cursed. And so she goes to live with them at their castle, and Louvain is just shocked and, you know, not happy about that. And so she follows her sister to the castle, and she ends up falling in love with Ballard. So it's definitely an age gap. A really interesting take on the Beauty and the Beast story. Just for me, the pacing was a bit too slow the entire time, but I do definitely recommend it. The next one I would highly recommend is Briarly by Aster Glenn Gray. This is actually male, and it takes place during World War II. And this one's also interesting because to me it very much read like a fairy tale. The writing style just gave me that vibe. This one I would also highly recommend if you prefer your romances to be lower heat, because from what I can remember, the 2 main characters kissed like twice and there was nothing else that happened on page. Once again, I thought that this was just like an interesting take on the story. This one's also a novella. I think it might be just about like 100 pages or so. So you'll fly through it. I really enjoyed this one. And then last but certainly not least, we have His Beauty by Jack Harbin. This one is a little bit different, and it's one that I don't think everyone is going to love, and I already know that because I just looked on Goodreads and the average rating is like 3.3. So clearly this one does not work for everyone. This is another novella, and this one is definitely a fantasy romance. And what's really different about this is that Beast, he stays a beast the entire time, but there's also steamy and sexy scenes, and so some readers have issue with that. I personally don't, because I read alien and monster romances too, so I don't have a problem with that, but just know that some people did. So yeah, but this one was really great. Isla, our Belle-like character, she's probably the most badass Belle character that I've ever read in any of these retellings. There is a scene, there's like a battle scene towards the end, and she is just so ruthless and cutthroat, and it's just awesome to read about. So yeah, this one is great as well. So that is going to be it for my Beauty and the Beast retelling recommendations. I would love it if you would leave recommendations down below if you have any that I didn't mention in this video, just so that I can have more recommendations and other people that are watching can get more recommendations as well. I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!